Did you know that Modern Witches has a Patreon community? There, you can join us at 2 tiers of paying membership and access our monthly coven circles, which are live online gatherings where we discuss our witchcraft and practice magic together, and tune into what it means to be a modern witch at this deeply important planetary moment. We're so excited to be dropping a new Patreon exclusive, which are our mini magic episodes. These will feature practical magic, folklore, history of the craft, as well as ways to deepen your engagement and awareness of witchcraft in this precarious time. We hope to see you there, and if you aren't subscribing to the podcast, please do so now. Your comments, your reviews, they all mean so much to us. Find links to join our Patreon community in the show notes. Blessed be. Welcome back to the Modern Witches podcast. We're here for our second half of Gemini season, Zodiacal Magical Weather Report. I'm Casey Zabala, and I'm here with Karima and Mariana. Hello.
Hi,
Hey
friends.
guys, hey Casey, hey Mariana.
We are deep in the midst of Gemini energy and tuning in to remind you to take care of your body, stretch, ground, drink your water, and just remember to be present when you can with
And be
everything that's
ridiculous.
going on. What'd you say?
And be ridiculous.
And be
Week.
ridiculous. Yes.
It's Gemini season.
Yeah.
Gonna be
Don't
a
forget-
clown a little bit.
Oh, yes. Bring the clown energy. Bring the silly.
Yeah.
So the first transit we're going to talk about, so we begin this Gemini episode on June 1st with
Mhm.
Venus conjunct Chiron.
Mm.
Yeah, I feel like it's always tough with Chiron, right? It's always like we're talking about things that are not funny, that are not enjoyable, but it helps us grow. Always Chiron help us grow and face our wound. And Venus it is for me a toughest one because it talks about connection with the others. It talk about our relationship to beauty, our relationship to love, the the maybe wound that we carry from past relationship that can be lovers or parents or friends. So uh, when we have this Venus conjunct Chiron, those wounds can come back from the past. So there's sometimes like regret about mistake we did or regret about what people did to us and have questions like why am I always in this type of relationship, why am I doing all of them this, that can from different form, but sometimes the hit that we have or when Venus come close to Chiron is the first phase of like kind of blaming ourselves for why it's happening to us, and when it conjunct is kind of like at the exact degree is like taking responsibility on what happened, but also making sure that you don't find yourself in the same situation that what happened in the past. And sometimes it's tough. Chiron will show us like where we messed up and where we need to change. What do we give too much to the other person or what we don't give enough? Where we have a hard time to connect. You know, it's sometimes related with our self body, with our body, our image, or what we look like. And so that can be really damaging if we let us carry on into that thought or like blaming ourselves or like, and this is not going well and that I'm stuck at it and that's I'm not well enough, you know, and that always blame. And it's not meant for that. It is the it is meant to go deeper and say, okay, like what can I do? It's what can taking responsibility, of course, is one of the biggest one with Karen is a teacher. He wants you to take responsibility in order to learn. Is the teacher. He's trying to teach you something. And so it can be really uncomfortable and hard, but it's sometimes necessary for us to reset or to take a new line of action regarding a body, a relationship, whatever is the subject for you, you know. But it's very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah. A wound of visibility feels like to me. It's a wound of like being seen, because the ruler of that Mars is in Leo. Moon is also in Leo at the time of this conjunction. So it's a lot about, for me, like I think I've said this before, when I like the ruler being in Leo, it's visibility and perception through that visibility. What we show up as and how we're being perceived, and sort of like reconciling and maybe correcting that, or maybe like realigning, not in correcting, with how we would like to be seen, which is more aligned with our personal truth and our personal values, Venus. And it's like, it's a courage to get past through current perceptions of the self, almost, to a more truthful ones.
I definitely think that, and I guess I've noticed that a lot of the clients I have who have Chiron in Aries natally, there's a grappling with how to make changes that artfully align with their values, while reconciling and holding space for the healing that is required of them. And like not getting mired and stuck in these like patterns of self-doubt, and like working through issues of self-worth. So it's a very vulnerable Chiron and Aries placement. And I think with Venus here, it's like, let's give that some compassion. Let's give that some room to do what Mariana and Karima were both talking about, which is realigning with those values.
100%. Because to what you said, Aries is about doing. It's not as much about like contemplating forever, or it's doing. And Chiron there is the lack of doing, a wound of that. It's more of like, and the healing happens through kind of not second guessing, allowing yourself to go into something, to like allow yourself to try to be that Aries thing, to just go.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there's a sweet transit that happens on June 4th. With, get my controls going here. On June 4th, we have Venus in Aries sextile Jupiter in Gemini at 28 degrees.
Karima?
I like this one.
Karima likes this one.
I like it's a tough time, guys. Okay, like Venus conjunct Chiron, it is can be brutal, and so having that Venus sextile Jupiter and in fire sign, Venus is in fire sign, Jupiter is in Gemini. I know they are not at best. You know, Venus is not comfortable in Aries. It belongs to Libra. And Jupiter is not comfortable in Gemini. It belongs to Sagittarius. They're both in like the opposite sign, but still both of very good planets that bring usually abundance and faith and hope and opportunities. And both are in sign that align in terms of element with air and fire. And they are talking to each other and give us hope on a lot of is about ourselves. I feel like with Venus in Aries, and because this conjunction just happened in Chiron, I feel like it's a boost of hope. You know, that things can get better. We can express our value. We can express what we think, how we feel it, and not be just with those two aligning next to each other. But basically, 3 days. It is it is calling us to speak out our truth, our power, our value. What do we feel? How do we feel it? No matter who is in the room, no matter what is happening out there. And it doesn't have to be very like confrontational. We know Aries can be, but it can also be expressing in your own way what you feel. And that's what I feel this sextile is offering us, is like putting words, putting imaging, putting anything that you use to communicating for you, like in order for you to thrive and to express what you really feel or want to do. It can be as simple as, oh, I want to redo that room, and your partner is against you, and you're like, no, I want to do it. I want to do that color. I feel like it is what is needed. It can be as simple as that, or it can be big as a business idea or project, or standing up against your family and what they think about whatever the world or yourself, or stop being like a people pleaser. Sometimes it's like with Venus and Aries, that like opposing the sign of Libra, that that thing can come up a lot. So yeah, I think it's a good transit to very express what your needs are and what you want, and very driven. It give a thrive, and it give again, courage and power and bravery to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also they both kind of at the end of their respective transits. So hopefully they've gained some sort of like wisdom and experience, especially
Yeah.
Venus has been through the ringer there. So I think, yeah, it's like I do prefer planets when they're not in their homes or exaltations or in the less favorable positions by the end of the sign. Because in the beginning of the sign or first 2 decans, they can be like really bumping their head against every corner. But here at the end, they have some kind of grasp of what this is about to navigate this transit way better and with better outcomes.
Yeah, and then with this kind of infusion or this connection, just 2 days later,
Bless you.
Venus moves into Taurus.
It's like a deep breath. I love that we're having this sextile, and then 2 days after, Venus is moving into a comfortable, beautiful sign. It's like a sign. It's at home. So it felt like, just like with what happened to Venus the past month, like it's retrograde, going back to Pisces, going back to Aries, it's conjunction to Saturn. I just feel like, oh, I can like relax for a moment. I can just enjoy and stop doing the deep work. That's what I feel. It's like, okay, I've been doing for the past month deep work. Can I chill for a moment? Can I just chill? That's what the vibe that I'm getting right now.
Unfortunately, she can't chill. She's squaring Pluto.
Yeah, this is
I'm like,
so
sorry.
real. Like this square is like bam in your face.
Yeah, you thought you
wanted
can
to
relax? No.
No.
You have 4 days of no chill, and then you can chill.
Yeah.
It's true. It's like right at the beginning, it's converted to Pluto, which is cathartic, yes, but it's still like a lot after what is
I feel like it's
too.
like Pluto is like shaking Venus. Like
I like
are you
the
sure
hand gest.
you're happy here? Like,
Yeah.
are you sure you're comfortable?
Yeah.
Like I think there's a way in which we're experiencing in the world this increasing level of like discomfort on the collective scale, and the demand is to sort of like lean into discomfort. And so I see like this Venus moving into Taurus, its home sign, squaring Pluto. Pluto's like, actually, it's not time to be comfortable. Like,
We can bring you
you need
more
to,
down.
yeah. Like, we need to explore ways that we can make sacrifices to our comfort in order to make radical change happen. Yeah.
Tricky because it's I do like squares because they put you in the position where you have to act. Sextiles and trines with Pluto even, they're very like, you should, but you have a way out. I'm like, oh, should I not? Square, it's like, I think you have to. It's kind of like, or it's gonna get so much worse.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what square to Pluto speaks of. And I want to look at this from a different angle as well. So it's like comfort, but also the demand of whoever, the governments, the entities in power, trying to, like, it started like some years ago. Nobody should have a home. You don't have to have a home. You can live in a, like, having this kind of narrative. Like, you don't need much. You don't need much. Like, first it was like this, you need this much, then it's less, 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 less. So what's happening is two parallels. On one, we are, or as we speak, being robbed of comfort, right? But the agency is we can dictate what we're willing to sacrifice and what we're not willing to sacrifice under any circumstances.
Yeah.
They want us to sacrifice what we are not willing to sacrifice under any circumstances. Right. But there are things we can sacrifice. So here it's that square is a choice. Are you willing to lose a lot, or are you willing to lose a little? But you have an agency of making that choice.
I love that. Yeah, you think about like the boycotting movements. And to frame this in like maybe a specific example is like, are you willing to not go to Starbucks? Are you willing to not go to Walmart or Target?
Yeah.
Target.
And we all have been dabbled, and like, for example, I cancel Amazon and then I'm like, I need things. I don't know where to get them. I have to bring it back for a month.
Yeah.
I go back and forth. It's crazy because, but then this square is like that choice. It's kind of like, okay.
I just want to make a little plug here for everyone listening. Go to your local hardware stores. They have everything. They're amazing stores. My first job was at Ace Hardware.
Oh, wow.
And maybe that's why
Mars
I like them so
Taurus.
much. I know, right? But they're great. They're fun stores. I don't know. As a Taurus rising. They got everything.
Not even the Taurus. Mars is there. All the metal.
Yeah, exactly. Nails.
All the
hammers. Tools. So there you go. That's my one tip for your boycott plans.
It is true. It's hard because like I was, some of stuff was like not that hard. Like I loved Starbucks before. I was going just for my coffee, whatever. So, but it was easy to cut because there's so many different coffee around that is like neighborhood coffee that you can. It's better to put your money into it anyway, Say McDonald's. I love McDonald's. I'm sorry, but I loved it. And I'm like, okay, easy, because there's so many other choices. You can go to a restaurant even next door, like local restaurant, they will have a burger for you. You know what I mean? Like Target, harder. Harder. Amazon, harder. And that's where the choice is. Like where,
especially when you have kids. It's hard.
Especially when you have kids, like you. And so I know, and it's like a pressure. We know we cannot. I know some people are very strong and boycott everything, and it's very like they are the example that I think we should follow. But I'm still myself in the process of boycotting and knowing, because sometimes you have information that are not right. Sometimes knowing what did they do, why you boycotting. Like there's also information that you need to be clear about for you to have the strength to do it. I think information and what they did, when you read what they do, I feel that gave me the fire. Information, Gemini. When I read and get information about what the company does, where, like, what was it against my value exactly, then it's easier for me to say, okay, no. But sometimes I put my hand in the sand, I'm like, oh, I need to get information, but I need to get diaper again one more time. That's kind of that tricky, thing.
It's totally tricky.
But I think information, that's going to be your fuel to fight. That's going to be the fuel to really, okay, I read, I saw it, like it's disgusting, I need to cut. Like that will be your gut, telling you stop.
And
And
pay attention to, yeah.
you will find another way. There's always how just our parents did it. Like, you will find a way. Like that's not a question, but
And if you live in a city, or even if you don't, like look on like online forums or marketplace for free groups. People give a lot of stuff away for free.
so
So
much. I
it's
love this
always, it's
group.
something that I like have forgotten to tune into, and I'm trying to get better at. Like look at the free groups, go online, who's sharing what, and
Yeah.
There's so much stuff out there of course, okay, when you talk about diapers, you can't like reuse diapers, I guess. But like
You
some of
could
them.
if you were you have disposal like
what
diapers that you
our
can
parents in
wash.
Russia in the 90s, we didn't have diapers. So what they did, they had like cotton washcloth.
Yeah.
Not like in the United States, it's probably they've been around for way longer, but in Russia in the 90s, we didn't have milk, not leave alone diapers. Like, and my my parents would tell me like we had, and they didn't have like washing machines, they had like buckets. So they like we would wash, sterilize, boil, hang dry. I'm like, oh, this is insane.
And you know that diaper is so bad ecologically. Like it's
Yeah.
so bad. Like I have to switch to like diaper that are washable. Like you have now it's like you have company that make them that are like sustainable and all that. But you're right. Like this choice just by your parents did it in the 90s. It was a
It's
lot of work and
insane.
challenge, but they did it.
When
You know.
end of 80s, 90s, yeah. So I guess like we have so much stuff. Like I have a friend who she loves estate sales or like yard sales or whatever, because like there's so much quality stuff that we have already produced in this world, more than we can use.
Yeah.
We already have it and it keep being produced. It's insane.
It's so insane. I love this, like Venus and Taurus sparked this.
Yeah.
But especially like the
Preservation.
square Pluto,
Oh
I
my
do
God.
think there's like, we need to realize that.
How much we consume? Yes. And even if France is going into the path that American is in right now, still I learned consumerism, and a lot of us here.
Yeah, me
A
too.
lot compared to
We
France.
don't have that, like the paper
not-
towel thing. I'm like,
Yeah,
my mom,
all
when
that.
I went
Yeah.
home, she's like, I'm like, where are the paper? She's like, what? Here are normal cotton towels, which change them every 2 days. Use it.
Yeah.
It's like, you do not need paper towels. I'm like, what? I don't need paper towels. Like, it's insane how much it's being
That's a
used
huge
here.
shift. That's
Yeah.
like really important one.
Yeah.
Small,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like when you think about it,
It's huge. It's huge.
it's huge.
And other thing, and I'm like, it's insane. Like my mom, like for example, sorry, but like I was home like about 5 months ago, and I haven't been home for a while, and I like this comparison of this culture and habitual things, and over there, it's like milk. She orders milk, and she has those. He brings her milk in this glass big jar. She has, and like when she finishes her milk, she washes it and gives him back the jar, and he brings her milk in a new jar. And it
My
keeps
partner's family lives in England in a small village, and they had their milk delivered up until like 3 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's amazing.
Like just a note, and then we need to move on. But it's also the fact that life has become, we have less and less time. I just want to acknowledge that
Yes. Thank you.
less and less time make us feel like we need to come to the quickest and fastest way to do things. And because of that, we came into the consumerist, because it's like whatever can ease the timeline that I have just for cleaning the kitchen, I will take it. So that start with it. So because diapers and changing and washing, that takes so much time. I have a full time, my husband have a full time, like that's gone. Like this time is so hard to maintain. So,
I have to say, though,
mm-hmm.
the second that I really have pulled back from social media, my relationship with time has shifted so much. Suddenly I have time because I'm not spending half an hour like just being brainwashed by ads on my phone.
Mhm.
So I'm just like, I'm not trying to shame anyone's relationship with social media, especially because I think there's so much important information being shared on social media right now. And when I do like tune back in, I'm like, wow, this is incredible. What activists and organists are doing with that platform. And the attention economy is real, and these billionaires have our attention right now. So if that's something you can also pay attention to in Gemini season, is how much time you spend on your phone, how much attention you're giving to people who are actively trying to distract you from doing things that are aligned with your values.
Like
Just
work with your algorithm. Hate that word, consciously.
yes.
Work with it. I only like the posts or resistance, Islam, animals.
Animals. Yes, animals.
That's it. I'm like, I'm not gonna even beautiful, just something. Pure aesthetic anymore. I'm like, I don't need too much aesthetic. I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah.
No, I understand that. Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. Mercury really zips through Gemini. And on June 8th, just after Venus enters Taurus, we have Mercury shifting into Cancer.
Yeah.
So it's a very emotional downshift, I feel like, out of this really dynamic, quick-moving experience of our communication. We were traveling through the world into Cancer, a very emotional water energy. I always feel like I have a lot of Cancer energy, but whenever I think about Mercury and Cancer, I just feel like that feeling when you try to go in a swimming pool and you try to go to the bottom of the pool. You let all the air out of your body and you just try to lay on the bottom of the pool. That's how I feel.
Wow.
You're just like, oh, I'm in this feeling.
Sounds intense.
Completely. That's how I feel.
Oh, wow. That feeling remind me also that Mercury, as soon as he entered Cancer, is also squaring, Aries right away. And so I feel like that as heaviness is present because, first of all, Mercury not comfortable in Cancer, not the best. And then you add Saturn to the mix. That's a lot. That's a boomerang coming into kind of feel like your face. You know what I mean? It's like I feel like there's a big shift in emotion, like forcing you to not feel what you're supposed to feel and keep moving. Like Saturn is like, there's work to do, there's things to do, things needs to happen. And Mercury wants to linger into that feeling, kind of, yeah. So the pull is definitely something that resonates a lot.
Yeah. When I think about Mercury in Cancer, I think about memory. It's very a lot of memory and a lot of nostalgia. Yeah. It's very I do like actually Mercury in Cancer because I feel comfortable in that energy. I'm like, oh, go down memory lanes and crying.
Yeah.
I watched Out of Africa again.
Such a good movie.
So, yeah, and I feel like with square to Saturn, it can be like something you do not want to remember, but you remember.
Mm.
Mm.
Something that you do not want to think about, but it just keeps knocking on at the door in your head, you know? So it's just something like, but square again, it's unavoidable. It's sort of, you have to deal with this. You have to communicate the difficult thing. You
Mm.
have to process the difficult thing.
Mm.
But they help. There's help on the way.
Yes.
There's help coming to come and maybe not save us entirely, but a little bit lifted up the heavy lift. You know, like Jupiter enter Cancer the day after on June 9. It's a pretty big event for the year, especially because Jupiter likes to be in Cancer.
Exalted, yeah.
Is exalted in Cancer and is just feeling like I said after earlier that I think it was on part 1 or part 2. I don't remember exactly, but we talked about Mars being for so long in Cancer, so long and retrograding that I just feel like the work that we did with Mars in Cancer, if even if we feel that we didn't do any work, we actually did work. I heard so many
What do
people.
you mean? We did so much work. I almost
No,
died.
no, no, no. I mean, like for those who felt like what happened, I didn't feel that I did work on myself. For those who say that, I say, yeah, but did you cry all the time? Yes, so much. I was crying all the time. I heard so many people talk about crying and crying. What is crying except that is like, and it like basically you relieve your body from all those emotions through
Mhm.
water. You literally relieve them. So it is work. Sometimes people don't
And
realize
it's
that.
cleansing.
It is deeply cleansing. And like, yes, in Cancer, you're not gonna make a logical thinking of I did this and I did that, and it's very linear and like you think of all the solution. No, it's gonna be in your body. You're gonna feel it.
Hmm.
There's that purge that's happening. And I feel like that clarity that Mars was pretty intense with, Mars is like pushy, you know? Jupiter
Mhm.
is coming and said, let me put some seed, let me flourish the soil, let me take care of the soil. Let me, like, do you need nurture? Do you need to talk about it? Let's talk about your faith, like, so about how you can expand. Let's talk about how you can protect yourself and take care of your emotion, you know? Just feel there's like an expansion with Cancer that is very n- deeply needed right now. Nice to shift because Jupiter and Gemini can be very exhausted. Like it's a lot of information, a lot of things to handle,
Mm.
and that can rise up your anxiety and mind fogginess and a lot of things like that. So,
Mhm.
I feel like it like opens up all the options, you know?
mhm.
It's like Nine of Cups.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I
Like,
will not be surprised right now, for example, that people start to really leave social media to finally take care of this sun. Because the
yeah.
speak of Gemini, Jupiter and Gemini, but still is the opposite sign. Jupiter is good in Sagittarius. It's the opposite sign in Gemini, you know, so it's not at its best, even if it's Jupiter. So I feel like having this kind of overflow, like over. I feel like people will all you choose your social media. They can be YouTube, they can be whatever. When you over like indulge yourself, but I feel like there's gonna be a bigger like we already feel it. It already is coming, you know.
Right.
Mhm.
So sorry, I cut you off, Casey. Sorry, we were talking about
Oh,
the
no, no,
nine.
no. Oh, totally. I just think that it's kind of what you were saying with like leaving even social media. It's like that barrage of information. The way it takes our attention in so many different directions and kind of leaves us feeling like more activated than maybe grounded or knowledgeable, perhaps. Um, I do think the shift of Mercury into Cancer is like, oh, actually, what feels good? You know, like what is the right emotional attunement for me to expand into, for me to like take up space in. I think there's going to be more clarity about what feels right, what feels wrong. Um, Kind of shifting our internal barometers a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah, it's everybody gets so surprised when they learn that Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. They're like, why?
Mm,
It
Mm-hmm.
it rules Sagittarius and Pisces. Those are about travel and exploration and spirituality. What it has to do with Cancer, and I think it's like that. It's all within you. You've been born with most of the information that you need. You've been
Mm-hmm.
born with the knowing. It doesn't come. It might unlock some traveling and whatever high learning and degrees can unlock things, but the exaltation is where the roots are, ancestors are,
absolutely. Mm,
that's where the truth is really unlocked, the like felt truth.
yeah.
I think we're gonna come, why, to what you guys said about like moving away from social media, it's because we suddenly gonna like, not suddenly on the day of the ingression, but through the year, the transit that is year long, we're going to realize that we hold so much of information already within that we can use. We already know so much. It's less about going outwardly than it's going inwardly and like tapping into the knowing that is already there and having, it's like, when they say like, you already, like, there's a meme that I saw recently. It's like, use what you've already been given, kind of. I can't remember exactly, but
Mhm.
God has given you what you already need. It's sort of that realization. You have everything you need right now to do what you need to do
Mm-hmm.
from a very truthful place. Just
It's very,
realize that.
sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very hermit year energy. The hermit
Mm.
no longer needs to be a part of um, the organized practice or the organized religion because they realize, like, oh, I don't need to be told or what to believe. I don't need to have God's words translated for me. I have a direct connection to my own knowing, my own understanding to God. So I do feel like there's that energy kind of singing through this
Mm.
half of the year, hopefully.
The difficult thing here, first, is square Saturn.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, later we'll talk about it, I guess. Is it not right away? But the good thing is that North Node in Pisces, since it entered Pisces in January, has been ruled by Jupiter, that is out of the favorable position in Gemini. And here we have this Jupiter in Cancer kind of unlocking North Node in Pisces truly. It is
Mm-hmm.
sort of like, oh, there is a spiritual direction, there is this expansion and learning curve that is now unlocked for you. It wasn't before Jupiter entered Cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, do you want to talk about I guess we talked about Mercury squaring Saturn
Is the
as
next one Jupiter squaring Saturn we're talking about?
yeah, actually, let's talk about the full moon in Sagittarius.
Yeah,
That's on June 11th, so just a couple days later. Here, let's see. I'm a really slow controller today. Sorry, everyone.
You're fine, Kissy. Let's take the time. Yeah, it's
Okay,
on June 11. It's at 20-degree, right? The full
great.
moon.
Yep.
Nice. Nice. Especially, but Mariana mentioned it, like Jupiter is squaring now Saturn. And during that lunation, basically Jupiter is the ruler of that lunation because we have a full moon in Sagittarius. So it's usually, but a full moon is to illuminate something, is to bring to light something. Of course, I think that's something that is very because in Sagittarius is about knowledge, it's about differences, cultures, about the journey is never about the destination. It's about being able to grasp with different ideology, philosophy, religion. So it's a bright full moon that bring light to different maybe facet of ourselves. But with this ruler, Jupiter, that's ruled at lunation, it's squaring Saturn. So if there is a hold here, I feel that they cannot. Sagittarius is the center that gallops in the desert, in the mountain, whatever. It's like going wild and free. And Saturn is like, he's like, hold on a minute, hold on, you're not gonna go that far. You're not gonna go crazy. And so that's, I think it's a nice full moon, yes, but with a lot of restriction. It's like I feel like there's a lot of way to go. And Jupiter is in Cancer. It feels great. He wants to feel. He wants to, like I said, nurture your body, nurture everything. But there is work to do. I feel like there is work to do. And Saturn is here to remind us the work that, yeah, expansion is great. Yes, abundance is great, but there's also so, so many things to do to get there, you know? And he's
Mhm.
bringing us back to reality. Um, and this is maybe what we need into the vision and the thing that we want is like Saturn say, yeah, but there's work. How long is gonna last? How long is gonna take to do all of that? Let's start now, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's a good moment to remember full moons are about release
Mm-hmm.
and cleansing, like this climactic energy. And so when I look at this, Sagittarius moon, I think about, what steam needs to be released essentially, um, what fires need to be burned, um, for you to kind of let go of some of maybe the stagnant energy that's been holding you back. Maybe some of those restrictions are like limiting beliefs, um, that are holding you back. Um, maybe thinking just about the weight of reality, perhaps, and how it would be nice to tap into joy and like pleasure
Mm.
at this moment to kind of help us sustain the movements and the goals that we're moving towards. So I don't know. I see this full moon as kind of a potential middle point where we need to check in and say, yeah, what is feeling sustainable? What isn't? And how can we dream wildly and radically and also um, keep 2 feet on the ground, like moving forward? And
Mm.
I don't know.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So with Jupiter ruling lunation, but also this full moon squares nodes, and there's this big square happening with nodes and moon and the sun. So everything is kind of like around the concept of truth and truth seeking, about like the direction, the long-term vision, the big vision. It's very Jupiterian. The energy around this is very much like, so what is truly worthwhile, worth your effort, worth your energy? And with Jupiter in Cancer square and Saturn here in this pursuit of truth, it's about pacing, I think. It's about like
Mm-hmm.
pacing yourself, pacing your desires, Saturn and Aries, pacing your um, also pacing and managing your fears, managing your fears of how fast or slow things can happen, or how long does it take to arrive to any kind of truth. And just having this, allowing, I think it's important with this lunation to allow ourselves to be in this liminal space of, as we seek the truth of our Jupiter square Saturn, our existence of or our purpose, and to be like, it will take time, and it will take, so because Jupiter in Cancer, I love it. It's patient. It's very patient. It will allow itself to feel through the process. So I think it's very much, it lays, and the 2 weeks following this full moon can help you like kind of navigate the connection between the idea of home and nourishment and that like long-term vision, how they're connected for you maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do like this form. Even if it
Yeah.
asks us to pace ourselves, like you mentioned it, Mariana,
Mm-hmm.
it's still I feel like again we're talking about hope here again, but having this
Yeah.
hope of this vision of this realization we want to do.
Yeah. A lot of supportive aspects. So here we have Chiron's trine in Mars. We have
Mm-hmm.
Mercury and Venus forming a sextile.
Yeah.
So there are like this supportive mechanisms that are like, okay, like it might not go as fast, but you are on the right track.
Yeah.
And the timing, it's sort of like managing your expectations of the timing and how things happen and when things happen and when the expansion, the Jupiter thing happen might be not in accord, like not what you expect it to be.
Yeah, I think it's so important to think. I think witchcraft or an active lunar cycle practice, astrology, sort of teaches us how to move through time in a cyclical way. And I
Mm-hmm.
think for some, we think about full moons as like the top of the mountain or like a moment of completion, release, accomplishment. But I see this as a moment of perspective, right? It's like look around you, see what is working, see if your trajectory feels safe and solid, see who's coming with you. Um,
Yeah.
it's not a moment to necessarily celebrate a win, but it's a moment to just really gain that perspective you need in order to feel confident about moving forward or notice what you need to change
Yeah, I
as
think it's
you
very important what you
yeah
said.
move forward.
The perspective here. So another word for truth.
Right.
It's true.
Yeah.
Truly, it is. And just having that is as valuable as it can get.
Agreed.
Okay.
Okay, so after this full moon, we move on to June 15th when Mars in Leo will square Uranus and Taurus at 28 degrees. So this is another one of those transit that sort of comes at the end of Uranus's journey through Taurus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And on the
This
same day, June 15th, Jupiter in Cancer will also make a square to Saturn in Aries.
the exact yeah, the exact
Both of
same.
those are felt days before. Just to,
Mm.
Yeah. The other like June 15th, I feel like it's square or challenges. It's not impossible to make things happen, but it's a lot of obstacle in your way. And I I just like and Mars and Leo has been so intense this season with this opposition to Pluto, and now it's just finishing. It started with this opposition, and now it's finishing with the square to Uranus. Um, before going to Virgo, so which also a sign that is not at its best, so I just feel like that can be challenging to move forward. There's a lot of Mars in Leo is driven, and Uranus sometimes is asking you to change its trajectory. Things happen, unexpected things happen that it can be in your favor or against you, and is adaptation that you have to do maybe in a quick pace with Mars in Leo, but it's a road that you cannot avoid. It's like thing that's coming into your way that you have to be flexible. That is with Uranus, you have to be flexible. There is no way you have to come up to a new plane with a new challenge being in front of you. And then because this square is obvious that Saturn is like holding again maybe your movement and say, hold on, we need to fix that first. Things that you might wanted to do it at this time and you thought you would be there already is like a lot of different things coming your way. Plus Saturn is like, okay, we need to do this first and this, that, and maybe like slow down like yourself, even if you're on a race and you might not have a choice about this.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, this whole two squares, one after another, and major squares for that matter, both of them. Like, by the way, I forgot to mention the Jupiter Saturn square has its roots in December of 2021.
mm-hmm.
So this is the first, like, sort of falling out of the events of 2021.
Okay.
Right? So
Yeah.
it has its legs coming from there. The thing I feel, this is something out of your control that challenges your vision, and your response here matters a great deal. So how can you pivot without abandoning the ship? So like something here, a curveball and a curveball. One curveball is unexpected and it might not be negative. The Uranus to Mars. It just might be not what you initially had in mind. And the other one, Saturn to Jupiter, Jupiter to Saturn, is more of it what not you've had in mind that might delay what you've had in mind, but it's necessary. I know I'm being very cryptic because I don't know what I'm talking about in terms of specifics, because it's going to be unique to everyone. But overall, this is about like, and the square with Mars and Uranus is very like sensitive line because it's very ego wired. It feels very ego centered, honestly.
Yeah.
It feels like, but I have a vision. But the support, Uranus and Taurus, is like, well, let's pivot. Something there is very much
Feels familiar.
yeah.
I think we've all really been like dealing with some level of that. Like, I just think about all the small businesses now who are like wondering if they're going to be able to pay for their products.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I do think there's something here about someone who's like usurping control and agency, you know, and making it really difficult for us to plan for the future. And then this Saturn Jupiter tension that's happening is really challenging us to think about, well, how can we kind of create a reality that actually supports the future we want to be building outside of these like egoic tensions that are unstable.
Yeah. We all ask to make like real changes in our like personal lives here and choices that we make. The square's not gonna they really do not give us much space in staying in the same lane on the same approach. They really don't. It's so like heavy with, well, you think that anything from how things been done in the last whatever forever can work. It can't. So you have to, no matter how hard, how big is the ship, you got to adapt in the scale, in the parameters that you find yourself in.
Right.
You know,
like I think that especially like with what's going on in the context of the United States and with our relationships with Canada and Mexico and all these other countries that are like heavily involved in this geopolitical scenario, you know, it's like if you didn't think that you would be effective, you will be.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you are holding that belief in any way, like you really need to examine that. Everyone will be touched by the policies that are coming down from our government.
Yeah.
And it's up to
Yeah.
you to relate to that.
Think about this whole thing, and years ahead is about how can greater personal independence can be gained here, because there's no sense of dependence on big structure. That Uranus Mars square, Mars rules that Saturn. Mars is in Leo. It's severing from, and it's very sharp severing from something. It can be on an economic and large country scales, but on a small individual, small business, or personal creative ideas, it's completely thinking, like Uranus is higher octave of Mercury, square in Mars. It's how can we think about our safety and stability in a radically different way than we've had before? Because what we've thought before is not gonna work. There's no cushion for your, there's nothing guaranteed going forward. Just really, really let it sink. So what can you do creatively in your small business, in your personal life, in your project, in your community, that brings more self-reliance?
Yeah.
Yeah, good to get into those like free marketplaces and talk to your neighbors and, you know, figure out how you can start to be a little bit more supportive of the people in your local environment.
Yeah.
So the next transit, as Mars is just on the precipice of Leo here on this day, June 15th, it will move into Virgo on the 17th of June.
I do like Mars in Virgo though.
Yeah, I kind of do too.
It feels constructive in this time. After all the squares, it's like, okay, so the raptures, and here it's like, let's tend to the details of the raptures.
Get practical.
Get practical.
Yeah, it increased focus on practical details. You know, work. It it helps you to for your attention to details. Even if with Mars is a heat planet, so it can overthink, you know, or being prone to self-criticizing more than um it's still very good for um moving, you know, for having things moving. Um and because Virgo is a worker, Virgo embodied a worker, like with his hands, the way he thinks, the way he thinks about, um, you know, how to organize a place or how to make things work. And I say a place, it can be work, file, whatever it is. I feel it's like Mars will give fuel to that. Um, and it's I like it for work. I do. I like it for work. I like it for like thing that I get stuck, like, you know, you pile of, I don't know, file that you have to organize or anything like this. It's just like helping you, you know.
I think it's a very intentional energy. Like it's a very intentional Martian energy. And it brings greater awareness to our energetic bandwidth and like what is worth our time and energy. So it's a really good at prioritizing tasks, which could feel pretty important at this juncture.
100%. And as I'm looking at the chart, I'm noticing that there's in quincunx or in conjunction just from the very ingression, but going forward a few days from end of Gemini season into the beginning of Cancer season, between Pluto and Neptune with Saturn and Mars in Virgo. So the release sort of like with that Mars, Yod is being formed, you know, twin conjunctions together, you know. So there is that Mars and Virgo is what's going to tie things up for Aquarius and Aries placements. So the vision and agency is through attention to detail, is through, like Casey, you said, prioritizing. And also for me, Mars is always about cutting out, especially with the South Node in Virgo. It is about a lot of your, like, our action taken, a lot of that can be suspended in our, like, little things that we do are not essential. Some of
Right.
the things that we do are not. They shouldn't be prioritized. Why are they prioritized? Like, just ask yourself, and then you can tie the Aquarius Aries, like the vision.
But Virgo has like help us to be practical too. So
That's what lacks practicality
mm,
in order to tie that Neptune with that Pluto and Saturn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting way to kind of move into the height of summer. Which we'll be talking about in our next episode on Cancer season. But yeah, I feel like it's like a very fiery entrance. Seems like.
it is.
Yeah. And it's not, it doesn't give summer holiday vibe.
No, it does not give.
It does not. I feel like the summer ends at the end of June.
Yes.
And we get to work.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that I feel like in previous summers, like as a small business person, it's like, oh, you don't really do too much in the summer because people are like busy traveling, whatever, like not working or not really like showing up. But I have the opposite kind of inclination about this summer season, where it might be a time when gathering and organizing and being with community is top of mind and more of a priority, perhaps. So we'll see.
It's in the mid of 2025 because the second part of 2025 is so much more beneficial than the first part. So we might, and there's so much hold off in the first part and so many delays. So I feel like once we get to this like end of June, it's like, well, I don't care that it's summer. I don't care about anything. There's so much work that has to be done. It has to be done.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to share too that I'm hosting, for those of our listeners who are in the Bay Area, we're going to be hosting in conjunction with the Rebus founder Hannah Livy. We're doing an art and arcana event series where we're having these casual meetups to discuss tarot and how it relates to our everyday lives and the collective, and also just to commune together, bring community together to foster spiritual resilience during these times. These are super casual, free meetups for the time being. So if you are in the Bay Area and want to connect, definitely, subscribe to our newsletter. That's where we'll be putting out all the RSVPs for those, which we'll be hosting throughout the summer, once a month. So I hope you can make it to those.
Where
are
those?
either of you doing anything?
I'm going.
Harima will be there.
Where are those? Where in Bay
They're
Area?
in Oakland.
If I find a way to get there.
We're going to take Mariana, so.
In the bag. As of right now, I have nothing major to share, except I'm trying to get back into Substack and write a bit more, as I'm trying all the time, giving my best. So the best way to connect with me is Substack. So
awesome.
Subscribe and there will be more updates coming there.
Nice.
Lovely.
I recently opened a YouTube and podcast in French.
How exciting.
So yeah, it's been like only 2 weeks, but I recorded in advance. I'm doing all the thing, the blogging, the thing in French. So it's fun. It's weird because I'm starting from the beginning. And I just wanted to have a chance to speak in my language, my native language. It felt like it was a call to do it.
Lovely.
So I'm loving. I'm doing weekly horoscope, which we don't have that much in French. We don't have. Oh, I didn't find any place where there was weekly horoscope. So I'm doing this with Tarot on YouTube and put the audio on the podcast for the podcast. So it's fun. It's fun. Doing still readings is also fun. So yeah, going a little bit in both worlds. I like it. Enjoy it.
Yeah,
Amazing.
very mutable of you.
Talk about yeah.
Mutable sun and mutable moon. Yeah, you two directions.
Let's do more work. It's fun.
Yeah, and I think doing things in your native language with the Jupiter approaching Cancer is brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So share for those of you with French friends or French-speaking friends.
Or if you want to learn French.
There you go. Great
Use
way
the
to
tool
learn
of
French.
astrology.
We love it.
Exciting.
Okay. Well, let us know what you're up to, listeners. You can always send us an email at info@witchesconfluence.org. We are happy to promote your offerings in our newsletter, so reach out about that and let us know what you think of our podcast and share with a friend. Thank you so much for tuning in.
You guys. Bye-bye.
All right, be well. Thank you for tuning in to the Modern Witches podcast. We hope you've been inspired to cultivate your own magic and to craft your own spiritual practices. Let us know what sparked your curiosity by leaving us a comment on this episode or leave us a review. And don't forget to subscribe to the show so that you never miss an episode. Your feedback and engagement truly fills our cups. If you're looking for more ways to gather with your fellow witches, please support our work on Patreon. Learn more at modernwitches.org. Blessed be.